Everybody, welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors on the day after the Super Bowl. We got a lot to talk about.
Hey,
I was going to say, don't worry, we're going to make fun of Charlie here in a second as a Patriots fan. We won't miss that.
Where's that jersey at, man? He had that Tom Brady throwback on that one day. He's all beaming.
It's in storage somewhere.
Yeah, that was a rough Super Bowl, man. That was not a very enjoyable game. Even just I wasn't biased towards either team, but I was like, ugh. All right, so we'll definitely talk about that right after I do the intro. We're going to do some intel on what's going on in offseason workouts. We'll talk the remade running back room, and then whatever you guys want to talk about. But also, I want you to head over to Inside Texas right now and join for $1. New members, if you're watching the channel, come join. The board has more information. We just chat about some of the various topics that occur on over there, so we'd love to see you. All right, man. Seahawks, Patriots. I was telling Eric it was the worst thing it could be for like a television product because it was low scoring for most of it, like 9-0, but the Seahawks were still dominating. So it was somehow low scoring and not close, and it was such a it was just a boring game. I really didn't enjoy it. Later in the second half, it opens up, but just wasn't super impressed overall. It was Patriots throwing checkdowns, trying to run. Seahawks figure it out later, but offensive line of the Patriots struggling. It didn't feel very Super Bowl-y. It felt like it could have been a Week 9 game that they were kind of trying to get through, you know?
Man. I'll let Charlie get composed. I'm down bad too, man. I don't want to see the Seahawks winning at Levi. That was painful. I grew up as a Niner fan in the 80s in the Bay Area. Of course, the heyday was at Candlesticks, but that's, there's a lot of Seattle, San Francisco history in that stadium already. And they're going to have scoreboard on the Niners forever. They're going to say, this is our stadium. We won a Super Bowl here. And it's just painful. So I'm down bad just as much as Charlie. The game after that third 3-and-out, I just kind of tuned it out. I didn't even care as much. My son loved the 9-0 score at halftime because he won the kids pool at the party we were at. So he was super excited about that. And because we just went to Seattle in September, he was rooting for the Seahawks. So
he's been converted.
Even more insult to injury. He was wearing his flag football jersey, which has the same colors as the Seahawks, and gallivanting around cheering in front of his dad, dear old dad. And so it was rough. And then the game on top of it, there was very little entertainment value. As you said, it opened up in the second half. Happy to see Byron Murphy. I love Byron Murphy as a recruit, and he was a great horn. Love Michael Dixon, that one punt where he just kicked it out of bounds. He kicked that laser out of bounds. It's like such a skilled guy. You could see why he would have taken over Aussie rules football had he stayed down there. Yeah. But overall, it was just a very tough day overall.
Yeah, man. That was a bad game. And look, if anybody out there, this is why you should draft Longhorns over LSU players. See, we should have drafted Kelvin Banks over Will Campbell all day, any day. I don't know why, but hey, we chose that. Seattle had more Longhorns, so I guess that's a positive side, right? They had Diggs, who's on the practice squad, right, if I'm not mistaken, or he's on injury reserve. So shout out to the Longhorns, man. It was a brutal game. Drake May, I thought he was seeing ghosts. I know Sam Darnold said that some years back, but I think Drake May was seeing ghosts yesterday. It was just too fast for him.
It was demoralizing. The bull rush, man. When I played tackle, there was nothing more demoralizing than a bull rush, and he was just getting bodied, man.
He was. Him and the left guard, they were getting – it was bad. I
thought the left guard got worked by that rookie.
Yeah,
I was thinking, man, if the rookie's doing that, no wonder Byron Murphy's getting some wins. Yeah, that's why you don't want to start rookies on the offensive line if you don't have to. Obviously, you do have to when you draft them extremely high. But then a rookie guard there, man, geez, that was rough. I thought that was just as rough as Campbell at tackle.
Yeah.
But Drake May, I don't really fault May for that performance. He's going to be better for it. Man, I doubt that's the last we see of him in the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And I'm kind of happy for Vrabel, too. I feel like he got a raw deal for his time at Tennessee. So happy to see him back on his feet. That was a quick turnaround for the Patriots. They got nothing to hang their hat on or to hang their head on. But yeah, next year's going to be even rough. We got Niners with the Rams and the Seahawks again. So I don't know, man.
It's a rough division, man. That's a rough division.
Yeah. I don't really watch much NFL, and so I kind of just tune in and out of the playoffs. So I didn't really know what to expect from either team here, man. But just as a casual observer, I was like, this game sucks. I found myself on my phone, like normally I'm locked in and keyed in on some of this. There's some of the Seahawks stuff that I was like, I think Sark wants to do this. It was like this outside zone kind of run game, and then like the condensed big personnel, and then pair it with the deep shot receiver. So there was some things that I was like, Sark might like to take, or not even take. Sark already does a lot of this kind of stuff too, but that's about all I got from it, man.
Yeah, it was fun watching the running back do his thing. He was a transfer kid. I think he started at Wake Forest, and then he moved around.
Michigan State, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was watching him earlier in the season going, that's exactly what Texas needs to find out of the portal, man. If this guy's going out, leaving schools in the portal and still making an impact in the NFL, this is exactly what Texas needs to find. And I'm not sure they found that exactly, but they did a damn good job, which I wrote about this morning. Maybe some others can kind of develop into what we saw out of Walker.
Yeah. Eric is from San Fran. Didn't see that coming. Are you actually from? I know you're from California, but are you from San Francisco area?
Not the city exactly. I was born in the Bay Area, East Bay Area. Lived there for 12 or 13 years, and then Southern California, and then I made it home finally.
Nice. Yeah, you got it right eventually, dude. We won't get too mad at you, dude.
I went from LA in 1992 to Industry, Texas.
Eric was the first wave of the California flight. He's the one. He brought all this upon us, guys.
I did it before.
He said, "Everyone follow me, dude."
Cool. I did it before it was necessary.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you did it for the love of the game, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So, Eric, you had some really good Saturday intel. I wanted to talk over this off-season stuff, and
that was a team effort. That was IT staff. That was some of it from Charlie and Justin. It's not just me on the team inside sources. Sometimes I get the credit for it, or I write it just to keep a continuity of voice. But Charlie and Justin both helped out with that. We had like 4 intel pieces last week, which is tough to do this time of year. But we're hitting the phones pretty hard to try to get everybody through this February slog.
Yeah, and also I contribute a lot, man. Like generally, like half of this stuff is normally my intel as well. I'm really like plugged in guy. So we'll see which one parts are mine. I think most of it is here. All right. So players with a chip, right? Some of this is off-season stuff that we're used to, but also it's Texas has made a concerted, I said on the board, Kirby calling out Texas for being finesse and soft seems to have had an effect because they're kind of reinstating some of the policies in the offseason that they had success with in previous seasons and didn't necessarily do last season, right? Like the shirt program and stuff like that. And then they're circling back to strength and all of that. So it's not a ton of different stuff, but there is an emphasis of locked in osity that seems to be going on here. So we have a little bit of players with a chip. What's going on, Eric?
Yeah, that's well, I mean, it's competition has been restored, or not restored. I'm not saying it ever left necessarily, but it's going to be heightened this offseason. And I think I said, especially at cornerback and offensive line, where if you go to the portal and bring in a veteran, but you've got talented guys chomping at the bit, you're going to have competition on your hands. And so a lot of the people read the headlines, "Oh, I'm not expected to start." You bring in a proven corner, or you're going to bring in this proven offensive guard if he becomes eligible. There's just a lot of competition across the line. Those guys want to play. And I think the coaches are going to do a really good job of stoking that fire and using it for off-season motivation. Like we say a lot, they are competing right now. It's not, you're not just competing when the pads are on. You're competing in the workouts. We detailed that on Friday, what they're doing as far as team accountability by each player, each leader has a team of his own, and it's a competition. You can elevate in shirts. You go from one color to the next if you're doing the right things. So competition is taking place right now. But there's a lot of guys that are out to prove to the fan base and to the coaches that, hey, you didn't need to go spend all that money on the portal. You had me right here under your nose.
Yeah, they when I did the podcast last week with Drew and Jet, we were talking about the transition from the Herman era to the Sark era and what that was like. But if you notice, when players talk about their seasons where they had good seasons, or like Drew, for example, gets to talk about the championship, they always go back to the off season. Like that's where they're saying, and that's where you win it. But they were like, we knew when we were doing X drill at 5 a.m. So this is actually the moment you're winning the national championship right now if you're doing the right things. And so that's the biggest key.
Yeah. First things first is you get the roster in order, which they did in December and January. And then you get the competition going, which they've got right now. It's, I'm not trying to be pie in the sky. There's going to be a lot of question marks that we won't know going into the season, even after August and spring ball. But I love what Sark is doing right now. It's kind of a return to basics in some way as far as his program management.
Cool. All right. Coach, any thoughts on that?
I love the fact that the guys on the team are like taking on the mentality of, most people want to take their ball and go home, right? Oh, if you don't want me or you're recruiting over me, then they're starting to look at maybe I should leave. But the fact that they want to stay and compete, like I love that type of attitude. That means they recruited the right type of guys who want to fight and compete, not just give up and say, okay, cool. You want somebody else over me. I'll go play somewhere else. Like, no, stay and fight. I don't think there's enough of that. And the fact that they got a number of guys that want to stay and fight shows a lot to me. I love it.
Yeah, and there's also the flip side of it where let's say the defensive players I like the portal in some ways because they want to compete against Cam Coleman. So that work. Yeah, I'm not sure that the wide receiver. Well, Khalil Lockett might not have been happy to see Cam Coleman come in, but the corners are Cade Phillips, Grayson Littleton, Warren Roberson, Kobe Black. All those guys are going to get to go up against Cam Coleman, and that's going to make them better.
Yeah. It's got to be fun as Cam Coleman when you're walking in and the other side of the ball is like, great, I got him first at reps. You're like, all right, sounds good. It'll make Cam Coleman better too.
Yeah.
All right. Young player is impressing. Richard Wesley, man. This is a hell of an opening statement here too. Wesley's going to play in the NFL for 10 years. Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, the physical attributes and the size and the athleticism are obvious on tape. Remember, last year when he came on the radar, he reclassified, and I was like, oh man, I don't have much interest in a reclassified edge because it's going to take too long. And then I rolled the tape. I said, oh, wait a minute, this guy is way more advanced in a lot of ways than I was expecting. And then obviously he's way more advanced when it comes to his mentality. So once you see the athleticism and the size, he's got all that stuff that is obviously trending towards NFL. But then the mentality that is what sources are really excited about right now. That's where you start saying, all right, he is going to play in the NFL for a long time because the other stuff, as long as he doesn't get hurt, is pretty can't miss.
Right.
And then you hear he's got the mental maturity of a 24-year-old. Sign me up for that. That guy is going to play a ton. Kind of a redo of Lance Jackson, not quite as big as Lance, but there's a lot of similarities there.
Well, I like to hear that, man.
Oh yeah.
Coach, your boy Turntine, he's eating food and he's eating weights, man. Because that's the big thing is he's slim and athletic for his size. So the big thing is how are we going to pack on the pounds, but good weight, right? But it seems like his mindset is looking good there, man.
Yeah, he's probably doing some curls in the weight room and then curling some food too, man. Look, he has to gain weight. It's known, right?
Doing curls, hamstring curls,
whatever the case, he needs it. And so, but the fact that he's taking on the mindset of like, hey, do whatever it takes. I got to gain the weight. I got to get stronger. I got to get bigger. Right? Most people, it's hard for some kids to adapt to that, right? Because like, man, I'm eating so much. How can I get all this food down and work out and still feel okay? But the fact he's taking on that work, say, hey, I got to get it done. I think it's important. He has a mature mindset as well to come in, So I know he's loving the workouts. A kid is coming from North Crowley. Some kids come from high school and like, man, these workouts are tough, right? The fact that he can come from North Crowley and say, you know what, I'm used to this. So he's kind of excelling and getting through it besides the running, because I think everybody struggles with that. But he's eating the weights, he's eating his food, man. I can't wait to see what he weighs, I guess, post-spring before spring ball starts. That'll be important. But, man, keep doing what you're doing, Turntine. Enjoy the free food while you got it, buddy.
Yeah, that's a big part of the job for some offensive linemen. Some of it is you got to keep them away from the table. Some of them you got to force them to sit down.
Yeah.
He's on that latter end. But you see a lot of these NFL offensive linemen, the guys that were all-time greats, Joe Thomas, whatever, they lean up real quick after.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It tells you how much of a part of the job it is to eat. And it all sounds fun, to us, who doesn't like to eat. But it's a lot of work, and it can get demanding. Jake,
man, once you're on that 5,000th calorie, food is not tasting good anymore.
Remember Jake Rollerson had to eat. Blake Brockermeyer now looks like $1 million, but he doesn't look anything like what he did when he played. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah. What are they? Bodybuilders will say that they're professional eaters, and that's kind of similar for offensive line when you got to pack on the weight, dude. So I'm excited to hear that. And then we have Kosiak Paula, man. And you said you were a bit surprised. I was a bit surprised when I read this, Eric.
I was a bit surprised. What I say at the bottom of this section is that every guy, each guy is going to have a better chance of gaining mention depending on where we are in the spring or in the offseason. Kosi, getting into making noise in a squat rack isn't all that surprising to me. If you've ever seen Kosi, there's not an ounce of fat on that guy. He's pure muscle. He's densely built. He's built like $1 million, man. Almost like a leaner Malik Jefferson. Traps up to his ears. Just a unique build. And so I'm not surprised that he's killing it at this time. Now, we're going to want to hear about him, spring ball, how he's reading, playing linebacker, playing off ball because he played edge so much. But hearing that he's intelligent and getting after it in the gym, that's good. That's good first steps for him. But obviously a lot more to go for him outside. We know he's an athletic marvel with a great build, long arms, and all that. It's good to hear his name, though. You don't want these guys, flying under the radar that deserve mention. Also, Rocky Cummings got a mention, right? We had a guy tell us he looks like Colton Vasek, just a little bit smaller. And
ultimate linebacker name too, man. Ultimate.
Yeah, that's a great one. And Atkinson, who everybody's bullish on, got mentioned for his the amount of time he spends watching film, which is you've got to love to watch film if you're going to be a Mike linebacker.
Yeah, and Atkinson already lives like a pro, man. He's like at all the fancy facilities around Austin. Like he has a YouTube channel that you can watch, but it's interesting just to see a young player that basically he's living the exact same lifestyle as if you watch an NFL player vlog on what he's doing. So he seems really locked in, man. So that's going to be a big factor. And as Eric reported earlier, Atkinson is one of those players that they want to get onboarded very quickly.
Yeah, I think on moving day, he was out there running sprints on the field. Like everybody else moving their stuff in the dorms, he's on the field running sprints. I mean, it could be for his show or whatever, but he was out there, getting a workout in. So that's
yeah, good luck though, because when Jet was talking about what he named their actual runs, and at some point, you think when he names half of it, you're like, that's a good workout. And then he goes on to quarter 3 and quarter 4, what they call it. You realize at some point it becomes purely a psychological tool for them.
That's what it is.
And he was saying, because there's diminishing returns with how much they're running, but it's really just to get you that mindset and also to pay attention, right, to your teammates, who's quitting, who's not ready, that kind of stuff. So the running at Texas is no joke, even a little bit overkill if you were purely talking athletics, but they're using it, like I said, as a psychological tool to build.
Yeah, they say that's something you'll never get used to because they can always they'll ramp it up. Once they start to get used to it, they just ramp it up a little bit more.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. And they used to do it like heavy lift day, like Thursday into the evening, and then Friday early morning run. And they've since given you a little bit more recovery time. Because I was like, there's no way you can recover in proper, but that's an intense running program they do. All right, competition across the board too, with Muschamp doing kind of positional flexibility. I'm sure they'll hone them in eventually, but you do want guys cross-trained just logistically, but I think it's also a good way for players to understand the broader concepts that are going on and everybody's job, not just your own and silo. So I think that's a good thing, Eric.
Yeah, to use an example of a position like, D-line or interior D-line, there's no 4-eye, there's no nose tackle, there's no D tackle. We all know how it's going to shake out within a pretty small margin of error. But every job is open. And they're going to move the parts around and see who fits. Cornerback and nickel is another good example. Lots of guys can play corner, and most corners or a lot of corners can play nickel. So they're gonna mix and match them and see who takes to it, not just athletically and physically, but mentally is very important, especially as far as nickel. This is wide open. That's how you stir competition too, man. You just tell a guy he's not competing for at one position, tell him he's competing at 3. Hero Canoe could play nose, D tackle, 4-eye, whatever they really need out of him. But some of those other guys have versatility as well. Justice Terry can play, 3 tech or 4-eye. You just want to keep these guys engaged, working hard, and letting them know there's multiple paths to the field.
Yeah.
You often say, look, from freshman to senior, I think everybody having spots open makes everybody compete, right? You don't have a for sure lock-in spot. You can't coast not one day. And you can use an example like Blake Gidding. Hey, I started him as a freshman over other guys. Guess what? That can be you too. So don't think just because you're a returning player that you got to solidify a spot, right? You got to earn it every day. So yeah, make everybody compete.
Yeah. All right, before we keep going, guys, let's hear a word from Academy.
Fast one.
Same day delivery powered by DoorDash.
Thank you, Academy. Sideline players. Kojo's still working to recover from the ACL, it looks like, huh?
Yeah, he's at least a partial participant. He's moving around. He's not doing the agility drills and all that, especially at 330, 340 pounds, whatever he is. But it's good to see that he's at least a partial participant, and it sounds like he's going to be ready to go for August.
And then Roberson has been out knee. We're not sure when he'll be back. So some of these are going to end up not. I don't remember Roberson, but some of these, remember when Texas released the list of who's participating in spring and who's not. Some of these players have came back from that, so that's good. I thought Wingo was going to be out for the spring, stuff like that, but we'll go in order. Roberson out. Linebacker Ty Anthony Smith is a partial participant, which is good, man. I want him getting as many reps as possible because he's likely going to be a starter.
Yeah, he's I think it's a shoulder deal with him, so he's still hitting leg day.
Okay.
He's one of the 10 team leaders, the accountability circuit. So he's definitely fully involved in that. I just don't think he's doing upper body, which he needs to add weight everywhere, but lower body's more important. So at least he's getting that.
Phil Simi still out. Same thing, shoulder, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to be available for spring ball. That's kind of a tricky thing. Probably re-injure that pretty easily. He needs a lot of reps, but he's got a lot of talent. That experience he gained last year is going to go a long way. Muschamp loves speed. He's got that in spades. So I just need to get him back and healthy. We'll, as we get deeper into February, we'll have a much better understanding of who will be a full participant, partial participant, or whatever of spring.
Yeah. Wingo, like I said, will be good for spring, which is something that's important because, Wingo has missed significant pieces of off-season training, and we really want him to take that next step. So we really want him to be easily available for everything going forward.
Yeah, the passing game for Texas to achieve its goals next year, the passing game has to be on the same page early in the season and really dominate. The passing game needs to dominate next year, even if they only get modest help from the run game. We think the run game is going to be better than that, but the passing game has to take over, and to do that, you need time. It's reps, and Wingo's missed large blocks of practices, missed almost all of spring last year, missed a big chunk of August.
Yeah,
I think it showed early in the season, and so him being able to go for spring, fingers crossed that he'll make it through all of spring. I think his body can be a bit finicky. How those sports cars are. The littlest thing can derail him at times, but let's get him healthy and let's see what he does this spring with Arch. We really want to see Arch, Coleman, and Wingo, and then however it shakes out at I guess I could have added Emmett Mosley here too, who's questionable for the spring, and he's missed a lot of time as well. So that you just need these guys healthy to get reps, man. They got to all be on the same page. They got to see what the defense is doing, and they got to see the same things.
Yeah, and of course we're gonna have Gooseby out for the spring as well, right? What was his again?
Shoulder. Gooseby's out for the spring. Yeah, offensive line is going to be. I'm going to do that winter off-season audit on O-line pretty soon, and I'll shake it all out. But yeah, there's a lot going on there. Our guy David Williams has got a lot of questions in here. We could probably
I actually have one I was about to pull up now on the latest quarterback commit. Clearly, rankings are not the ultimate factor in determining the value of recruits, but where do you two think Ty Knutson will end up as a recruit? I think mid-tier 4-star.
Yeah, I was going to say like a 90, low 4-star probably. It's going to be it'll probably be like the lack of elite athleticism, elite dual threat sort of ability that'll keep him from going higher. But I do think when you see the arm, the size, his good enough mobility, pocket mobility, ability to make pretty much all the throws, and not just make all the throws like the tough ones that require speed, but he could take it off. He could take. He's got good pocket speed on the throw. He can throw velocity, or he can put touch and feather it. So I do think he's going to end up being a 4-star. He's going to have to do well at these camps. That's just part of the deal for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
And he'll participate in the spring. I think he'll be at the Elite 11. Is that right, Charlie? Did we talked about that, right? I think he's going to be at the Elite 11, a regional camp anyway.
Regional camp, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see there, but he's got a chance to make a name. Obviously, once you commit to Texas, you're going to get a lot harder look from the rankings guys. They're going to try to polarize one way or the other. Either he's going to remain low, or they'll probably overshoot it, and maybe he will get up to a mid 4-star.
Charlie, what do you think, man?
I think he may be. I'm kind of with Eric on this. I want to see how he does in camps. I think that's what everybody be looking for because they probably value that over game film, right? He'd probably take his team to another state title and end up with a higher ranking again if he plays well throughout the season. But some people weigh rankings on these camps and what they do in a camp setting, I guess, against other people in t-shirt and shorts. But I think if he competes and does well in the camps, I think he can be, maybe mid to high 4-star, because he has more eyes on him now. Most people didn't pay attention to Spencer's and Valley, right, until they get into the playoffs, and so I think he'll have more eyes on him to prove that he can earn a higher 4-star ranking. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's a good chance that he goes and performs in the camps in ways that aligns with the tape, and then he gets a big bump. I expect him to be a 90 at minimum, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing him in camp.
As a added data point, but it's wild. Like, you favoring camps over game tape is crazy to me.
No, you just want it to align. It's kind of like you see the
exactly.
tape and then you go see, hey, this guy looks blistering fast, and then he runs a good 40. Or the opposite, like, hey, this guy lacks twitch, and then he runs a crappy shuttle. You're like, oh, that's not good. Tape first, and then camps and testing and all that.
Yeah. Do you both see any similarity or potential between Rocky Cummings and former BYU linebacker Kyle Van Noy? Each time Cummings tapes comes up, I think about Kyle Van Noy at BYU.
Oh, man. So I forget what year Van Noy came out, but he was one of my favorite players in the draft. Career got off to a slower start, and then obviously took off from there. I love Van Noy. And what I loved about Van Noy was that initial twitch. They could play him off the edge a lot. I do think that Cummings is going to have some versatility as far as where he plays. We talked about his size earlier. Muschamp does like that bigger linebacker when he can get him. And this guy does have a lot of functional athleticism. He played a lot of different positions in high school. I don't know that he has the twitch that Van Noy does. But he could, strength and conditioning can unlock some. We'll see. I don't think of Van Noy when I think of Rocky Cummings, but man, I wish I did. Van Noy was a stud. Who's the guy that Utah got a couple of years ago that Texas wanted? Lander Barton. And that's who I think of when I think of Cummings, like a middle class Lander Barton. I think he can get there. He takes up a lot of the field. And Cummings, like we said earlier, is making a little bit of noise. But that's kind of a stash play. We'll see what happens in 2027 with him. I don't have high expectations for him this year.
Yeah. To round out this article, Arch is cruising around, huh? He's scootered up, huh?
Yeah, he's scootered up. I don't think he's going to miss any spring. And yeah, he's still team leader and doing all the right things.
He lost his team leaader status. No scooter man will lead me.
They should give him a whistle while he's riding around on that scooter out on the field.
It is hard to take.
He should be doing the agility drills on the scooter.
Yeah. He can still probably move pretty quick on there. All right, let's talk running back room. This is a room I was rejoicing for. Certified Texas running back room critic last year, leading the effort in a lot of that. I just didn't think the room was up to par, even at SEC average. I thought it was far worse than SEC average. And Sark made moves and got rid of people that were really important, I guess, cultural leaders, right? Like Baxter and Wisner were really well liked, all of that stuff. Did the right things off the field. It's just I had some issues with their actual production and then some of their actual traits, right? Like their speed and burst issues. And Sark made hard decisions here, and Eric talks about it in Sark month. But I thought that was the biggest signal for me that he was going to be aggressive, because it would be easy just to keep on guys that you like and that are, fan favorites for their mentality. But Sark didn't do that.
No, Sark was resolute. He clearly had a plan. The plan altered a little bit when Wisner's people came over the top and wanted more. Then it's like, all right, then they just cut bait, But he came out of the gates quick. CJ Baxter was just, that was not going to be in the plans for next year, and that was tough for Sark. Obviously, Baxter had some bad luck. It wasn't his fault. The injury was that injury was terrible too. That was just bad luck, bad accident in practice, man, and it derailed everything for him. But Sark realized that, look, man, we got to get more explosive. And it was, in some ways, it was a tough call. In some ways, it was just the obvious call. You have to be pragmatic. And I think Sark was very pragmatic. But early on, it was kind of the running back position that showed us, all right, Sark is taking no prisoners. Made a coaching change right out of the gates. Exiled one of his favorites. And then Wisner was sort of a sign like, all right, if you ask for too much, they're just not going to negotiate with you anymore. And that's what happened. Ironically, the biggest loss is going to be the guy that only started one game.
Yeah. So you lose Christian Clark, man, who's a player. I was bummed about that one because I've just liked him since high school. I thought he would be a good player. I think he'll go on to be a good player. Yeah. So it would have been nice to have him in the room. There's no doubt. But ultimately, South Carolina secures him. And then you get
I think that's going to be one that we're not going to regret if they keep adding good running backs or if Derek Cooper turns into what we think he can be. But there's also a path where everybody laments losing Christian Clark because he is talented. But, I'm not sure we're going to see that this year unless South Carolina really fix their offensive line.
True.
Yeah. All right. And then we get a new hire, man, Jabbar Jalouk out of Florida. Intense guy, old school SEC. He's in the SEC mafia, man, where those coaches have coached at every school individually. And so he's done all that, man. There's definitely a club there where SEC hires SEC, but he's seen a lot of these top tier programs, man, and he knows how this goes. And so I was excited about this one. I didn't get the Chad Scott firing at first, but then they started to line up, and it was still brutal, man. Kentucky had the whole Jabbar Jalouk well-researched article on basically just saying we are going to hire this guy without saying it, and then Texas swoops right in, man.
Yeah, that was a sign. Sark was that's actually foreshadowed the change at defensive coordinator, even though we didn't know it at the time. Is he wants to get just a more physical, more vocal, more aggressive mindset out of his coaches. And Jabbar Jalouk signaled that change pretty quickly. But also just came with a lot of other benefits. He's a better recruiter than Chad Scott. Not a 10-10 recruiter, but a good strong recruiter. Obviously proven in the SEC. Probably better known for his evaluation, which is perfectly fine. That evaluation is going to be a renewed strength of coaches because there's ways to save a lot of money if you can unearth a gem.
Yeah.
And then also the way he runs practice, keeps a tight room, runs a tight room. The mindset I think he's going to instill in the players. And then of course part of the calculus was, hey, look, if Jaden Baugh goes in the portal, Texas is going to be in prime position. But it wasn't just all about Jaden Baugh.
Yeah. And I watched a bunch of Jalouk stuff on his Instagram. His players love him too. So he's got that old school kind of tough mentality as a coach, but he does build quality relationships. And it's about evaluation, man. You can find these 3-star running backs that can turn into stars for you for half price. Like, why wouldn't you want that skill set,
Exactly. I think his biggest – that's why I like him a lot is what he did at Louisiana Lafayette. Like, you have to really evaluate and find hidden gems at that level because you don't get a number of 4- and 5-star guys coming to you, right? So you really got to do your homework. So I can tell that he knows how to do his homework and evaluate a kid and find all the traits that you probably wouldn't even look for, right? That's how you find a good running back. So yeah, I like him. Not just what he did at the SEC, but what he did at the Group of 5 level shows me that he really can recruit and identify talent.
Yeah. All right. So we were after one or both of Baugh and Isaac Brown. Of course, that did not occur. They never entered the portal. But Texas pivoted really well and still ended up with the best running back portal haul, right?
Yeah, Isaac Brown said he was going to go in, and then he didn't. They immediately pivoted to Relique Brown, which, it's about as it's not a like for like in that Isaac Brown is better at breaking tackles or yards after contact. But other than that, as far as just having an explosive home run hitter, it is kind of a like for like. And then, Relique has really good hands out of the backfield. And so that was, I was hyped up at that point. And then they go and get Hollywood Smothers, flip him from Alabama.
Yeah.
Maybe a tad redundant to Relique, but a better inside runner. And I do think Relique is a more willing inside runner than probably given credit for. But Smothers is a little bit more inside outside. Still has good hands, still big playability. So yeah, they ended up with the best running back portal haul in the country after things went awry with their first plan.
Yeah. And I'm excited about the room, man. You need that explosivity. Even with how bad the offensive line was last year, there were still 4 or 5 opportunities a game for big gains that we weren't able to get. So if you can just secure those, like I said, getting this room to SEC average, you would see a massive improvement. But I think it'll be above SEC average now, so even a bigger jump there. So I like both of these additions.
Yeah, they can make people miss in the backfield. We're going to see a multiple of those runs that Trey Wiseman got versus A&M Oklahoma. These guys can hit that multiple games throughout the season.
Yeah, Trey did all those things against. It was funny too. His best run against OU and his best run against A&M were dead behind the line of scrimmage. We just didn't see enough of it last year. Hey, let me get to this James Fowler question here. Wasn't Baugh going to be a linebacker at Arkansas? Baugh was going to be a linebacker at Georgia. Arkansas had him as a running back.
Yeah.
Arkansas can find those big running backs now. Jeez.
They do. And they're powerful and they're not fun to hit, man. And they get enough speed going. Who was that little bowling ball they had not last season, but 2 seasons ago?
Russell. Braylon Russell.
Yeah, Braylon Russell. Yeah, they get
this year they had Mike Williams, and obviously they had Jacoby Jackson, who's a bigger guy. So
yeah,
not Jacoby Jackson, Jaquindon Jackson.
Jacoby Jackson was over at Florida. Depth and competition. James Simon was also a weird one, right? Because when we were in the find a running back savior phase of the offense earlier in the season, we saw some good things from James Simon, but oddly he just kind of faded away as the season went further, and I guess as Clark kind of rose up the ranks.
Yeah, they wanted, as they started to lean in more outside zone, they didn't think James Simon was seeing it as a true freshman, and so that's kind of what kind of blocked him. But I don't know, man. I think there was parts of last year where they should have ran him more in the game reps. You can learn a lot in game reps. You don't have to learn everything in practice. It's not like anybody was setting the world on fire against Kentucky. Go let James have a shot at it. He did show good inside outside traits. He still has to, like when I say traits, he can bounce it outside. He's got the lateral agility. He's got the cut and go. But you also have to see it and feel it with the outside zone, which, all offseason they're going to work that hard. He's going to benefit from the running backs they brought in. He's going to see how they respond to it. And I think James Simon's going to be a big player for him. I think he's going to play a good amount next year relative to, expectations anyways. And then Derek Cooper. Derek Cooper's the reason that they didn't go get a cheaper, bigger back. They want to give him the ball and give him a chance. And he's a good between the tackles runner. I'm still trying to figure out how, I can't predict how comfortable he's going to be. To me, he's a little bit more of a football athlete, but still you see the traits needed to be a running back, quick feet. He really likes to go point A to point B. He's a north-south runner, and he's got some good acceleration. Hopefully we can see some sort of approximation of Darren McFadden. They have a very, very similar running style. McFadden was just probably a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah, you also get punched in the face trying to tackle him on the sideline.
Darren McFadden ran similarly, man. With that, they've got a unique gait. That's part of what reminds me of them. But it's just north-south cut and go sort of style. No nonsense. And Cooper, keep adding weight. Eventually, he's going to be 220 pounds running with that sort of that speed. That's how you create some downhill velocity and put the physics in your favor.
And then, Eric, you named one of the Magic players here as well. Cooper may have to compete with Michael Terry. We talked about this a little bit last week, but this is one of the ones that the fans are really always curious about.
Yeah, Michael Terry is catnip for fans. Did somebody say Michael Terry? We have to we still have to get a better idea what the plan is for him. I imagine it will be to keep him at running back just because there's a bit of a logjam at slot receiver, and I don't think he's going to be an outside receiver. So, and then you got Nick Townsend and Emory Winston at tight end. So, running back probably makes the most sense for Terry, and we'll keep monitoring that. He does do some good things. He's fast. He's big. He's got good change of direction. But you still, like we say, running backs are born, not made. And I think they're trying to make a running back out of him. He wasn't necessarily born to play it. He was born to play football, obviously. But running back comes with the feet, balance, vision required to be what I consider a natural running back. Like, take that Seahawks running back last night. That guy's a pretty natural kid. And I'm not sure that Terry has it, but he does have compensatory traits that could allow him to at least serve a role at running back.
Yeah. And then Jet Walker, man, local guy, joins the class late. Walker is showing well in workouts, but will need some time to develop physically, develop skill-wise. Both,
all of it, yeah. He's going to be a big kid, but to really take advantage of, and he's definitely another cut and go north-south type of kid. So yeah, he just needs to keep getting bigger. Look, we think they're going to run a lot of outside zone. These, Walker and Cooper are definitely inside zone duo type runners. And I'm not sure exactly how comfortable Walker is in that look yet, but he's showing well. We heard the old cliche, could be a hidden gem from a source, and we'll see. Let it play out. He's not a 2026 solution. He's more about down the road. Didn't cost a lot. Gonna earn his stripes in practice, and we'll see if he can become a player. He does have some traits that were pretty obvious on tape.
So now you got Smothers and Brown leading the room. Third option, you have kind of this Simon as he grows, and you also then have situational freshman Derek Cooper who can come in as a big back. So this room is has drawn interest both from its top line athleticism, but some of its depth. This is probably the strongest. Let me think for it. Yeah, this is the strongest remake easily in the portal to go from below average to above average. So
Yeah, I think I might have said that somewhere in the article that this is the biggest overhaul that he made. And then I probably should have given some sort of mention to the guy that will probably lead them in rushing touchdowns next year in Arch Manning. But so they do have a solve for pretty much every situation with this. But the big change is there's much more dynamism. You could do a little off tackle, on your side of the field and end up shooting the cannon seconds later.
Yeah, and the pass game too, right? Like giving Arch check downs that actually have potential, not just check downs, lose a yard type stuff. So that's a big aspect. The one big thing that we still have to talk about is pass blocking. I'm not sure where we're getting that from. So that's a little scary. So that's going to be the big factor.
That's probably where they miss Wisner the most, huh? Ironically enough.
Yeah.
It's want to, and some of it's experience too. Smothers has experience. You got to be able to see it, understand where they're coming from. But a lot of it's want to, and you don't have to be Derek Cooper size to be a good pass blocker. We just mentioned Trey Wisner. A lot of that was Wisner was tough, but he had also good awareness too. He kind of knew where that extra guy was coming from.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's what James Simons probably finds his role, right? I think he can do that. He has a bigger body, but coming from a dad who coached running backs in college, I think he made to pick up that side of the game a lot faster than maybe others, and then he has the size to actually do it.
He'd be an interesting guy in the third down role too, because I would really like him on draw plays as well. Draw plays create a lot of space in the middle of the field, and he can make you miss in between the tackles. He's got good feet. He's been compared to Christian Clark in that he is an inside-outside sort of guy. Maybe not as elusive as Clark, but maybe more natural as far as seeing the play. Obviously, it's got to still work for him on outside zone, but I like Simon. I'm glad that I'm bummed that they lost Clark, but at least they have Simon too. So I think it's sort of a like for like.
Yeah, I agree. All right, before we keep going, guys, let's hear a word from our main man, Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results: Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Eric, you want to talk the biggest offseason moves overall, or you want to talk the return of the spring game?
Oh, man, goodness gracious. I'm happy for the fans on the return of the spring game, but it doesn't make a whole big difference to me other than it's another day to go have fun. I'll be up there, probably take my kid. But, I mean, as far as like some bellwether for how the offseason's gone, or it's going to tell us exactly what the team's going to be or the direction they're going, I think too much is made of that. But, again, it's a fun day. We can talk about whatever. Take questions. It doesn't matter.
I'll talk about the spring game.
I know you love it.
And it does matter. I don't have I was lying earlier when I said I was really sourced up. Turns out Eric's more sourced up than I am. So I just get to hear what Eric says, but what I get to do is pause and rewind 1,000 times on a wide receiver route that shows his skill or why a tackle got beat. That thing's helpful. I'm still have my conspiracy theory that somehow I could have seen some of this coming in the spring game, like on the offensive line. So that side to me, I think is important. And then you get to see too, who are the coaches thinking are the ones, who are the twos. We'll report that, but seeing them on the field makes a big difference for me. And also, I just say, like what Eric said, bring your family. I just think it matters, man. It gives the fans something in the spring to get excited about whenever you have to go through these long, 7-month droughts. So I was glad because I had stumped that all of their excuses for not having it last year are now gone. And luckily, they didn't try to come up with something new. They were just like, fair enough, we're going to do it. So shout out to Del Conte.
I will say that as far as seeing traits with our own eyes, anytime these guys are on TV or in front of us on the field, that's good. That's useful. If the guard is getting beat by quickness, we want to know that. Or if he's just getting beat by a technique breakdown, that's different, right? He's probably not going to fix quickness in 3 months. Right. Technique can be fixed pretty quickly, especially with tape to work with. So, there is value for guys like us, no doubt about it. But as far as the team goes, they still held the scrimmage. It just wasn't in front of what just wasn't public. I don't know if it makes a difference for them. It makes a difference. It does make a difference for us. It's fun, and it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, it's good fan service, man.
We're gonna overanalyze the hell out of that thing.
Yeah,
definitely. I like to see the players play in front of fans though, because the lights are kind of bright. In a scrimmage setting, it's like practice, right? You competing, but now when you got people out here watching your every move and booing and cheering for you, it's like, oh man, you know. But I like seeing the younger guys compete in the spring game. I just want to see how fast they got acclimated to playing in college. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I love seeing the young guys. We saw what Ryan Wingo 2 years ago look good. It's like, all right, he's gonna be a player, right? You know, he saw some guys that may need a learning curve. So I love seeing stuff like this.
I hate it when one player has had a good spring and then he goes out and has a gaff, and it's like that's like the whole takeaway, and you cannot erase that from the fan mindset until the guy scores like 6 touchdowns on Saturdays. It's going to be the guy that tripped and fell and gave up a touchdown or whatever it is, and I hate that small sample size becomes a narrative. That's probably the worst part about these things being public. But other than that, it's a lot of fun. What do we got here? I'm seeing a whole slew of names: Drew Kelson, DeMarco Cobbs, Vanessa, and McNeil. Oh my gosh.
They Nair is still the one that is like what could have been, right? With the post touchdown, that was the big one. Is there any comment you like here specifically?
Yeah, that last one from David Williams.
David Keith Williams says, I hope Michael Terry is not like historic Longhorns, Drew Kelson, DeMarco. Drew, if you're watching, dude, jeez, man. DeMarco Cobbs and Vanessa Mail did not have definite positions at Texas. What is
man? I wish Michael Terry would embrace defense like our guy Drew Kelson. Drew made some massive plays, man. Cobbs, Cobbs was a guy who wanted to play offense earlier in his career, I think, and then of course DeAndre, our boy DeAndre, wanted to play. DeAndre's doing well. I saw him not too long ago. He's selling cars in Dallas, or like a manager too. He's not just trying to get you in a lemon. Yeah, I mean that's always been the risk with Michael Terry. Is it he seems more like a defensive athlete, but he wants to play offense. Drew didn't care. Drew did get a look at running back. That was out of necessity too, kind of like Terry at running back. Yeah. But Drew was a defensive player. Drew was known as a safety. DeMarco, it just didn't click for him at linebacker out of the gates. Maybe later in his career, like he was a good point and shoot weapon. It was kind of like a who's the guy at LSU that Ian's always ragging on?
Harold Perkins.
Harold Perkins. Cobbs was sort of like that, where he's just more athlete than linebacker to start. And then McNeil is a bit of a concern with Terry. Is I think you should embrace defense. It's a cleaner path to the field. But if he wants to play offense, let him. What else are you gonna do? If you put him defense, he transfers it. That didn't do you any good either.
Yeah. Well, it's also
Eric Foreman, former quarterback athlete out of Camden, something like that. He ended up playing linebacker like Michael Teddy. You might want to embrace that role. He got him on the field faster. I think it'll get him on the field if he went ahead and switched the defense too.
Yeah. Y'all say that every time we bring up Terry. Hey, take the hint, Michael Terry. take the hint.
It's just a cleaner path to the field. It's I wish these guys would embrace the most important thing about these guys ultimately making the NFL is being in the right position. And it seems so simple. But we see it, Malcolm Roach, that guy should have just embraced being a D tackle straight out of high school. First, you want to play linebacker, and then just get to D tackle, dude. That's going to be what's best for you long term. Get to your NFL position ASAP.
The annoying ones are always the NFL corner that wants to play wide receiver, or the defensive tackle that would be an NFL left tackle but won't.
Oh man,
those are brutal, man.
College football is filled with D tackles that should make that switch. I mean, all the time. I mean, some of those guys would be elite at it, and they're just average at D tackle. They would be elite offensive tackles. You see that a lot in high school. The longer D tackle wants to stay at that position. Like, oh man, just flip to the other side of the field. And
it also doesn't make sense because left tackles get paid. It's like that's the thing too. Is like it's not like you're going to a less money position.
Yeah, and you could still be a dog. You could still have that mentality. Look at Trent Williams, man. Yeah. I mean, my algorithm is filled with him doing D tackle stuff out on the field.
He's incredible, dude.
Man.
He's incredible. When I watch his him and Lane Johnson highlights, and those guys are absolutely sick. But yeah, I agree. And there's a distinction too. You have to pay attention because there's the I want you to transfer position swap. And so they'll do that, and it's just, hey, SMU is looking like your place next year. And then there's the player that like they really like, right? Like Niblet, and they're like searching desperately. I think Michael Terry has that it too. So it's like you can also distinguish between who they're like, hey man, you're gonna go be fifth string at running back, then they want you to leave. But these are athletes that like they're searching for the spot, and they need to be able to figure that out. It's gonna be a trick. I'm gonna say Drew. I guess Drew's not watching today, or else we could get him to directly answer what's going on there. Maybe I will.
Drew put on some weight. Drew right now looks like an NFL safety, like a former NFL safety. He's lean. He's got his abs showing through his polo dry fit, making us all look bad.
Well, he said too that he would work out with the DBs even as a linebacker, because he said his superpower at linebacker was his athleticism and speed, right? So he like made sure that he maintained. So he always ran with the DBs and that kind of stuff too. So Drew was just really smart about where his edge was and how to exploit that. I mean, if you hear Drew talk about anything, he's smart. But I was surprised he was that smart at like 20 years old as well. So that was a big factor. All righty, boys. All right. I do want to talk about biggest moves and lock-ins, Eric, that you were discussing earlier. What came to your mind when you said that?
The biggest what?
Kind of lock-ins, signs that Sark wasn't playing around, all that.
Oh, Sark. Oh, I mean, obviously,
running back, of course. But
yeah, our job is to chronicle what's going on. Yeah, 24/7. I probably shouldn't say that. Not that much. Not like our competitors. But we chronicle throughout the offseason. We try to pick up on themes, and that was an early theme, was especially how he's handling the roster and getting, bouncing out some of his favorites. Was all right. This looks a little different. There were people. I'm telling you, in November, we had people on our site saying CJ Baxter's not going anywhere, so Sark's going to keep him around. He's Sark's favorite. All that stuff. So right out of the gates, he served notice on that. Changing out Chad Scott. It's very uncommon to change out a coach that had only been there 1 year.
Right.
That told you that, all right, things are changing. And that, like I said earlier, that was foreshadowing PK. And that was the monster, right? Will Muschamp comes in for PK. Sark is clearly not playing around. And then, we saw a lot of other things with roster management, how they handled, DeAndre Moore, how they handled Trey Wisner. They're not playing around. And we knew that they were kind of looking to create a reserve capital by letting DeAndre go, Parker Livingston, letting him go. And that was, look how they repurposed that towards Cam Coleman. So there are just a million different signs of that Sark is incredibly locked in. Now, people will say, well, he didn't do anything at offensive line coach, but that's not because he wasn't aggressive enough. That's because he didn't feel like he needed to. Now, we can all debate on whether or not that's the right call. But it's not like Sark said, you know what, I'm going to do all these things that I think are in the best interest of the program, even things that are hard, and yet I'm not going to do this thing. It's not because he didn't have the will to do it. He didn't have the want to do it.
Yeah, that's the only one where I see fans debate. But that Muschamp day, man, that was wild. And Sark has that. I think that's the big thing too, is like, and the Kirby stuff, man, because he went and got Muschamp, who's known for. It's funny if you watch Muschamp on podcasts, he's like a bookish kind of nerdy guy. He's a football nerd, and then when you see him on the field, totally different type. So he's going to be intense. Then you get Jaluk, and I think you mentioned earlier that they thought they were kind of missing that Tashard choice energy.
Yeah, they want that energy and physicality. And when I talk to a source about Jaluk in New Orleans and knows him well, he kind of finished the message off with exactly how he started it. That room is going to be tougher. He's tough. It's not an act with him. His toughness is real. He can't be a NOLA guy and not be tough. And he's going to bring that. That's Sark wants that edge. And when I talk about Sark is a total football coach, it's because he does respect the importance of physicality and toughness within his program. Compare that to like Lincoln Riley, who's never had a tough team. Sark is a total football coach, whether or not he wins it or not, because he understands that there's ways to set up his defense for success. In ways that a lot of offensive coaches are just looking to put points on the board. And obviously we want points on the board. But at the opposite end of the spectrum of, let's say, Will Muschamp as the head coach, where he had no respect for the offense, it seemed like Michael Leach went too far the other way. And, practice was set up for offense to have success under Leach, and practice was set up for Muschamp to have success under his teams. Sark is trying to have a total football culture, and to do that, you have to have toughness, not just on offense, or not just on defense, but on offense. Will Muschamp comes in and kind of solves that, or at least he addresses that like he did the first time. The Muschamp effect, I think, is real. I think part of the competition, we talked about it earlier, the competition within the program is not just offense and defense. There's a lot of competition within the position groups. And I think that's exactly what Sark was looking for, man. Revamp competition, toughness, more vocal leadership. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a leadership void right now with some of the guys that have left the last couple of years. Well, coach has to step in and fill that. Obviously, you want the players to do that, but you have to cultivate that leadership in order for them to take over. Pete Kwiatkowski, we called him Passive Pete, kind of jokingly, more so for his how he would call coverages on 3rd and 10. But Pete was a passive personality, and I think Sark clearly wanted somebody that was more in your face, more on hands, and just more vocal.
Yeah. And he also, in the press conference, one of the first things he said is like, I want a head coach of the defense too.
Right.
And that's something that stuck out to me immediately. What were you going to say, Coach? Sorry.
I can't wait to hear about some of the battles in the spring, and then when you get to fall camp. It's going to be some tough days where scout team players are really getting chewed out because they're doing too well. Because I feel like from bottom of the roster, top of the roster, they're all going to be competitive and want to compete and show up the offense every single day. And so I think that kind of competitiveness he's going to bring to the defense is going to make the offense better. But it's going to make some coaches mad during practice because they won't get anything accomplished sometimes because the defense is going to be wearing them out. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think it's important, man. You bring in Muschamp and Gideon, that new blood also saying, hey, jobs are open. That changes the mindset, right? You're not – because you're going to now compete a little bit harder. So I think that also just has value too, bringing in new names. And then Gideon's also no pushover as a coach as well. So that's a big, big factor.
Not at all. But Gideon is kind of wild as a coach, but the players all love him. They know that he has their best interest at heart. And so, yeah, he can coach tough and still get away with it. It's a skill these days to have that. And Muschamp has it too. So it's going to be spring is going to be interesting. Now, because there is a new install, the defense is going to be, playing catch up a little bit too. But with all the issues on the offensive line, I think the D line is kind of set, right? And you don't have to do as much coaching with the D line. Spring might be a little bit ugly for offense, but we'll see what August brings.
You got to see how healthy offense is, and then you got a new defensive install, so it could be a little bit weird for sure.
But that defensive install is not going to affect the D line as much as the secondary and the linebackers. So I think the offensive line is in for a world of hurt this spring.
Yeah, hopefully it's quality hurt because there's a thin line between I'm just not as good as them and getting destroyed versus competitive growth.
Yeah, Baker at left tackle might get that bull rush that Campbell was struggling with last night.
Oh, man.
Yeah. We had to get one more. Yeah. For Coach, there you go. That was your.
I had to bring it full circle for you, Coach.
Long off season.
Yeah, man, you got a long off season. I'm really sad you guys didn't get your 7th Super Bowl, man. I think you can go rewatch a dynasty tape. I don't feel as bad for the Patriots. All right, join for just $1, everybody. New members only. Would love to see you over there. All the written stuff, way more than we talk about over here, and then recruiting, all of that kind of stuff as well. So. Would love to see you over there. Guys, this was IT Live, and it was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have a great day. Peace.